the captain did bring up a really good point. I believe it was the captain. And he basically like, hey, what about all these other Wendigo arcanists that came to Thronehold for the tournament? And she's like, well, what we'll do is we'll give them 3 months to get the hell out of our area. And if they're still here and we catch them, then we're going to kill them.
So generous.
Like, oh, 3 months. Give up your antlers or die. Thank you.
And the other one she brings up that is very interesting is she also brings up bringing in Adulgis' dad. He's a famed artificer. He's well known in the magical community, so it's a nice little tie in there as well that she places a lot of trust in him.
And obviously he must know something. He must be pretty good at his job if the queen knows him personally like that and is willing to just call him in on a whim. So we finally get Volke's verdict as they're about to walk out. And Volke's almost like I'm getting away with this. I'm getting away with this. Like, nobody's going to see me. And she's like, okay, the person that manhandled her, you're going to spend a full day in the castle dungeon. That's your punishment. So Volke feels pretty dang embarrassed because this is all happening right in front of the guild, the whole guild that's there. And everybody's kind of like, okay, I guess that's the punishment. That's the punishment. And we'll just leave it be. So Volke ends up in the prison or the castle dungeon. And he actually says to Luther that he feels terrible that, especially because Mathis has never ended up in a dungeon before. Luther comes back with, even though Volke is spending the day, he's very thankful for meeting and bonding with Volke.
It's a really sweet moment between them. I know Volke wasn't necessarily looking for it to be emotional, but Luther said what needed to be said and really providing a lot of comfort. And the other piece that Luther mentions, we saw it in previous chapters as well, is he brings up again that he wants to go back and at least see the people from the Steelthorn Inquisitors that he knew from before.
And that's a pretty solid understanding on that, because that's where he spent most of his time all of his time with Mathis, I assume. Going back to see familiar faces, it was always probably nice. Before the captain walked away after slamming the door on, Volke in the dungeon, he did state that the captain really collected a lot of more information from Evianna that she let on. And the captain knows that she lied to the queen. So you can see that he's kind of that, like, I don't want to do this to you, but she's the queen. I have to do what I'm told. I'm her captain. Again, I hate doing this, but just know I know that you aren't completely a horrible person.
Yeah, he feels bad for him because he's stuck in this situation. There's nothing you can do to help, but he does want him to know that it didn't go unnoticed that he was looking out for Evianna.
So as Volke's sitting in his cell, he's trying to debate what he's going to do with his time, because he's got 24 hours in the clink. I feel like he needs one of those cups, just sit there, rattle back and forth on the bars and
sing a little jiggy.
Yeah, but he does actually start singing a little jiggy. Tries to pass the time, and then he's like, well, wait a minute, I could just use my magic while I'm down here and train. That's be great for use of my time. And Volke finds out that it's made of nullstone, so can't use any of his magic while he's down there. But
it shouldn't be a surprise.
Right. You're going to a dungeon. What else would you expect?
They're just going to let all the arcanists use their magic. If they can get out, fine. It's whatever.
I mean, they have to come out, like, up the stairs still, so, like, we'll see him. So Volke was actually asking Luther about why all this nullstone is there. Like, how does nobody else going to be able to use magic in there? And Luther just talks about how dragons, as a tier, like, all dragons, are not affected by nullstone. And specifically, sovereign dragons are actually able to activate and deactivate the nullstone effects. So they can turn all the magic off and they can turn it back on like a light switch.
A little Harry Potter light. Just click it.
Lumos and Noct. So after spending a couple hours down there, Lyvia finally comes down, which is the princess. And she comes down to rescue the damsel in distress, who is Volke. And Volke is very cordial at this point because he knows that she's a princess now. And he addresses her as Your Highness, and she's actually disappointed at that.
And she brings up a fact that she isn't really a ruler until she bonds with the sovereign dragon. And that requires going through a challenge, a trial of worth, where she will have to fight somebody. So it's a little early to be called Your Highness.
Right. And that gives an interesting twist to how this whole royalty works with this. So we find out the queen's first name or full title is Queen Shale Valletta, which is Evianna and Lyvia's great 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 grandma. So 5 greats in there. Don't know how many generations, but a lot of generations. Lyvia looks at Luther and she's like, "Oh, wait a minute, aren't you King Rowleth, which is who you were before you turned into the nightmare?" The significance to this is the nightmares' names are an anagram of the ruler that they were before they died. So Rowleth, Raulith, is how we get Luther.
It's a good thing they don't have any like Bobs.
Oob.
Your one option.
Ooh, got 2. So Lyvia compares Volke with Lark the Gallant. And she wanted to tell Volke about what's to come, but holds back. And again, I can only imagine that Volke is just, mind explodes. Like, this entire book is just mind explosion with all of the things. He's got people quoting pillars that don't actually, like, quote the pillar. He's got people that are famous that he's read all these stories about. And he has somebody to nerd out with. Like, he's in heaven here.
In a dungeon, but in heaven.
It's just a couple hours. It wasn't that bad. Like, I can only imagine the queen probably would have forgotten him the minute he left the room. You know, she probably didn't notice anything afterwards. But Lyvia does thank Volke for saving Evianna, even if she didn't deserve it. Because, again, Lyvia knew the true story. And I'm sure Evianna ran straight to Lyvia once everything happened.
And they have a nice moment together. I think Volke is happy to know that Lyvia knows the true story. His little crush knows the truth about him being a hero. But she ends up releasing him from the prison, like you said, because the queen won't notice or remember that she even sentenced him. So as long as he leaves the castle, he should be good to go.
And before we wrap everything up, we also want to, again, remind everybody to keep an eye out on a solid release date for the Time Marked Warlock, as this is going to be coming out sometime in April. And again, this is Shammy's new urban fantasy book. So keep an eye on Amazon for when that's available. And we, like always, we'd like to thank Dan Mackison, our editor. And you can find us on Podbean, Google Podcasts, which actually will be transitioning to YouTube Music. So if you haven't switched everything over to there yet, you might want to get doing that soon if you listen to Google Podcasts. We're also on Apple Podcasts, and we have our Facebook group, and we are on YouTube. So if you want to see us as we're talking, and Dan does a great job at putting in images from the awesome source Frith Chronicles fandom wiki. He does a great job getting that pushed over to us as well. And if you want to get a hold of us, you can get us at frithguildpod@gmail.com or send a message to us on Facebook or comment on the page. You're also on Discord. Scott, are you on Discord yourself?
I am.
For the Capital Station Lounge?
Capital Station Lounge, yep.
So, Scott, do you have anything else to add today?
Get ready for the tournament. It's coming.
Thank you for listening and stay tuned.